Hi everyone, it's Val. I am back with another video about Walt Disney World. I was actually just there last weekend. This video is not about that trip though. This video is about using Disability Access Service, or DAS, at Walt Disney World, specifically based on my experience using it with IBS. So I have another video about IBS at Walt Disney World, generally based on my previous experiences. IBS, if you don't know, is irritable bowel syndrome. It means that my guts are really mean. Sometimes food doesn't agree with me. Sometimes I need pretty urgent access to a bathroom. So it can make a lot of things hard. It can make commuting to work hard. It can make vacations hard, traveling in general. There's a reason I go to Walt Disney World a lot instead of backpacking in Scotland. One of those reasons is there are bathrooms everywhere. I'm generally speaking very comfortable at Walt Disney World, but there are times when I struggle because I can't really wait in a line for potentially 2 hours. I might need bathroom access and I might have a really hard time getting out of that line in time to get to a bathroom. So during my trip this October, I had one really bad day. I got stuck at the Seas in Epcot. My husband and a friend of ours who we were hanging out with sat over by the manatees, and I periodically joined them, but was in the bathroom for like the better part of, I think, at least an hour, maybe 2. Just going back and forth. There was a poor attendant in there who I had to be like, I'm so sorry that I keep coming in here, but like, I'm not having a good night. And yeah, they just had to sit there because, I could not be, more than like, 20 feet from a bathroom for a while. We had eaten at Rose and Crown. It wasn't the food that made me sick. It was just my body had decided it had enough of my shit. Wow. That was not meant to be a joke, but my body had basically decided it had enough of all the stuff I was eating, all of the walking around I was doing, the humidity, whatever it was, and just fully revolted on me. So I was very sick all evening and just couldn't do anything. So the next day when we headed out to the parks, we had planned to go to Hollywood Studios and go to Toy Story Land and do standby for Slinky Dog because we'd heard it was fun, and we didn't get fast passes for it, but we figured we could do standby. That was the plan before the night before happened. Once that all happened and I ended up very sick, I was very nervous the next day that I wasn't going to be able to wait in a line, even though I had said, oh, cool, I'll wait an hour plus for a ride for once, because I don't like to do that generally. It makes me anxious, even if I haven't had a recent incident. And so I really try to fast pass everything or only do like 15 or 20 minute waits max. Mostly because I know that they overestimate those waits. So it's probably more like 10 to 15. So we went to Hollywood Studios in the morning, and I decided to try to apply for the Disability Access Service card. It used to be, I guess, that if you had a wheelchair or some kind of apparent physical disability, that you would just get basically to the front of the line or to get to go through the exit line. There was some concern, I think about 5 years ago or so, or maybe it was just sometime within the last 5 years, that disabled folks were effectively renting themselves out to families so that they could just get to the front of the line. I have no interest in weighing in on the veracity of that, on how frequently it was happening, on if it's right or wrong that it was happening. No, not where I'm going with this. Only point in mentioning it is that because of the perception that this was happening too much, Disney changed over to a Disability Access Services card. I don't really know how that changes anything for wheelchair users because, as I mentioned in my wheelchairs at Walt Disney World video, some of them do go through the exit line basically of rides and do still get sort of accelerated entry. But what this basically did is make it so that you go to guest relations at a park, and tell them that you might need, like that you basically can't wait in line. Apparently a lot of folks with wheelchairs get turned away from it because the idea is you can wait in line because you're seated in a wheelchair. So I can't say how this would go with someone who has something like IBS, or I think there's something called IC that's like a urinary issue that can also mean you need urgent restroom access and have a lot of pain. I can't say what these would be like with one of those as well as a wheelchair, because again, I've heard of things, folks getting turned away. But I don't know that always happens. This isn't meant to be an overview of like every case that's ever happened. This is just how it worked for me. So we went to Hollywood Studios in the morning. I think my husband was coming later than me for some reason that I don't remember. But I got there first. I went to guest relations outside of the gate. And I just said, once I got through the line, I said, I think, hi, I was just wondering if I could talk to someone about getting a disability access services pass. And she was like, yep, that's fine. Can I scan your magic band? Like nothing. And I was like, okay, can we have my husband? And it turned out we did have to wait for him to get there to scan his band separately, even though our accounts are linked. So a good thing to know is that if you have a party that you're with, you do need them all there when you go to apply. So they can't add folks later as far as I know. At least that was how it was when I went in October. So if you have a party of, I think it's up to 6 people who can all be on that pass with you so you can go together. You need all of those 6 people with you. Once we scanned in, it was really easy. I think she took my picture. I don't remember if she took my husband's picture, but they just said, this will be active for 60 days. You're good to go. Go ahead. So the way that Disability Access Service Pass works is not that you tap in and you just, you don't have a fast pass for everything or anything like that. You don't go to the front of the line. All it does is it gives you a return time based on the ride's current wait. I generally found that it was a little bit shorter than the ride's current wait usually. So what you do is you go up to the cast member who's checking fast passes and you tell them that you'd like a return time for DAS. They will scan your magic band. And then if the wait is 60 minutes, they will tell you that you can come back at, if it's 1:30, they'll say, okay, great. You can come back at 2:30. You can come back, I believe, anytime after that. I don't remember it being like a 1 hour window or anything, but generally you're going to return around that time. I think folks have still expressed concern that this would mean that someone could abuse the system because they could go do more stuff because they're not waiting in line all day. But it's but I can't wait in line. So I'm not going to go do a bunch of other stuff necessarily. I just need to be able to be walking around and be near a bathroom. You can't use it oh, I'm just going to get a zillion fast passes. That's not how it works. So I had a return time. I'm not sure if you can even get return times for more than one ride at once. I didn't try. I only wanted to use it for things that I really couldn't wait for. And I only used it that one time, actually. I tried to use it for Winnie the Pooh later in the day. I did use it. I got a return time and then the ride broke down while we were in that return timeline. So, but I really only used it the one time during the trip. So it's not something that is going to be, it's meant to stop abuse of a system that apparently wasn't working. I can't speak to, I will not try to give you tips on using it in some way that it's not meant to be used. It really is meant to be used for folks who cannot wait in a line for upwards of, again, 15 or 20 minutes. And honestly, I don't think there's a minimum time. Even if you can't wait in line for 10 minutes, you could probably get a return time if you really wanted to. For me, I know that it was just that one ride that had a really high wait that I was fully prepared to just wait for. But then, had just a really horrible night, and realized it was probably kind of tempting fate to think that I would be able to get through that line. So I don't have a ton more to say on DAS. It's not a physical card. I know they say a DAS card. I know there are different programs. I think there might be something that still gives a card. I'm not 100% sure. This is not meant to be a researched video. Again, this is meant to be my experience. And my experience was really easy. It also does depend on the person. I've heard that it depends on who you get. Basically, there's no real guarantee there. But for me, it was a really easy process to get the DAS card. And it it did make a difference because I was able to experience something that I otherwise would not have been able to. Mostly what I do to cope with this stuff is just get fast passes. But if I don't, and then I decide I want to try something, or like my husband decides he wants to try something, I want to make sure that I'm able to experience it with him, and not just kind of be like, well, sorry, bye, you're going to go wait in line for 2 hours by yourself. Because like it really just enabled me to have a little bit more normal of a trip, even though I had been really sick the night before. So, I think it's a pretty good program. It worked well for me with my specific issue. It's not something, again, please understand that like the reason it exists is because they felt that another program was being abused. Please understand that the people who are using it aren't trying to cut you in line or aren't trying to unfairly take advantage of a system, but like I really can't wait in a line a lot of the time. And so it's always weird. I had a lot of guilt about like, am I disabled enough to use this? But it truly is one of those things that can be, like fast passes, honestly, can be really impactful to my ability to have sort of a normal experience on vacation. So I thought it was a really good program. I had no issues getting the access. If you have any questions, I don't know as I'll be able to answer them. I'm a pretty good researcher, so I'm happy to look things up for you. But this is pretty much my entire experience with the program. So if I have any future experiences that are different, I'll be sure to update everyone. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and ask them and I'll do my best to answer them. And I hope this was helpful to some people, and I hope that you have a great day.